your boy Luke, here for our round 3 prize picks targets for this week's Arnold Palmer Invitational. In this video, we'll be covering my top 5 props for Saturday's slate and the type of card I'll be putting together to try and take home some dollars. Over there for Friday, it wasn't the best of slates. We went 3 for 5 officially here on the channel, our 2 misses being the under for Sam Burns and John Rahm on hole number 12. We ended up taking the unders because they were playing in the morning and both missed extremely makeable birdie putts. On the other hand, we did hit the under on Victor Hovland on hole 12 and the overs on Justin Rose and Adam Scott on hole 12 in the afternoon. Granted, we had carnage today. We're going to talk about the stats here in a second, but in the afternoon, pretty much nobody was making birdies, and that's what we're going to see tomorrow with even stronger wind, which again we'll get to here in a second, and I'm expecting it to be a relatively easy round to target. It's going to look ugly on paper. We're going to be taking a lot of fades against people tomorrow, but per the metrics, we could be looking at a relatively profitable and easy to read slate. So with that being said, let's go ahead and hop right on into it. Try and at least get 4 or 5 tomorrow, if not a 5 of 5 and some 11x return. All right, guys, on the screen, you can see the review of today's slate, and we had absolute carnage. A scoring average over the entire day of 2.34 shots over par, but if we split this by wave, it gets even worse. In the afternoon, there was absolute carnage out there. A scoring average of 3.28 over par, and that was with just 7 to 10 mile an hour winds. The windstorm they expected to come through, where we had the 15 to 25 mile an hour gusts, never ended up coming through, and as a result, we actually got a little bit of easier conditions than at least I expected. But for tomorrow on Saturday, when we hop over to the weather here in a second, they're going to get even worse conditions. 15 to 20 mile an hour sustained winds for almost the entire day, with also some pretty nasty gusts. Let's go ahead and hop into that, show you what I'm talking about. This is the wind finder for Saturday at Orlando Airport, which is just down the road from this golf course. You can see 20 to even over 20 mile an hour gusts for most of the day. The wind direction is also in the opposite of what we had yesterday. The temperature, relatively similar, but as this golf course gets more and more sunlight throughout the weekend, as it gets firmer and faster, these greens get harder to hit and also harder to putt on, and we have this wind in play. This scoring average of 3.28 over par might actually be a little bit generous. We could see something even higher than that tomorrow, with Saturday pin locations as well, which are always going to be extremely difficult. We are looking at an absolute brute of a golf course. Let's go ahead and look at some of these pin locations, and pretty much every single one of them is tucked. We're not going to go hole by hole, but 1 and 2 are tucked to one corner or the other. 3 is tucked near the water hazard on the left side of that green. 4 and 5 also in the corner of the green, making them hard to access. 6 brings the water into play there. 7 and 8 are also relatively difficult pin locations. Same thing with 9, 10. 11 is actually a little bit easier, so it might be the one pin location that players get away with, but literally every other location on here is put in a corner. It's at maybe other than 15, it also looks like a relatively easy pin location. But outside 11 and 15, all of these are extremely difficult locations, and in general, going to be even more difficult than what we saw on Friday. So with all that being said, what props am I targeting? It's all going to be strokes for tomorrow. You can see there's 3 overs on our card, but also 2 unders. A lot of these guys I'm taking the over on are just lower quality players. We're going to go one by one, talk about why I don't expect them to have a good round tomorrow. But our 2 unders we're taking just seem blatantly mispriced. That's why I'm trying to get this video out here as soon as possible, because Taylor Gooch and also Will Zalatoris there at 71.5 strokes. All I have to do is shoot under par tomorrow, something that Taylor Gooch did relatively easily today, and that was in the hard part of the golf course in the afternoon. And Will Zalatoris, he ended up shooting well over par, but he also made 9 bogeys on the day, so still was able to go out there and score. So we'll talk about them one by one. First off, we're going to start off with Beau Hossler at 71.5 strokes, but we're taking the over. That means that if he shoots par or worse tomorrow, we're going to be hitting that prop. You guys saw the scoring average. It's 3.28 over par. That means the average player tomorrow is going to shoot near 75. That's why I'm taking the over on most all of these players, unless they have a very convincing reason to be taking the under. So somebody like a Beau Hossler, who's already a lower tier player to begin with, he's had a few good starts of late, but other than these last month or maybe month and a half of golf, he's been utterly atrocious. In fact, missed more cuts last year than he ended up making. He's also historically a better putter on the West Coast, more of a POA Anua specialist, even bent grass over there in the Midwest. But here in South Florida, pretty much the southeast of the United States, where we have Bermuda grass, grass, he's struggled over the years. And he's also somebody that relies on that putter. So even more so than most players, that does concern me. Again, the scoring average is going to be close to 75. He's far from one of the best players in this field. So pretty much a no-brainer for the over there. Another over we're taking is going to be Sergio Garcia, also at 71.5. He's a little bit of a higher quality player, right, than Hossler. We know that. He's much more of a household name, everything like that. But he really struggled there on Thursday. Ended up having a little bit of a better round today, but that was completely carried by the putter. There are a few guys down in the Prize Picks Discord I was joking with, saying that Sergio Garcia looked like Jordan Spieth, and he really did. He was making 20 to 30 footers all day. He was getting up and down some pretty outrageous positions around this golf course. And if it weren't for that hot putter, even with as many birdies as he made today, he would have shot well over par. So with even more difficult conditions expected tomorrow, not somebody that I have a whole lot of confidence in going forward. And that's why we're taking the over there. Again, if he shoots even par or higher, we're going to hit the over there. And the scoring average is going to be near 75. Our last over is going to be Rickie Fowler at 72.5. And yes, I know that means he has to shoot over par for us to win, but he's also somebody much like a Sergio Garcia that's kind of getting by in an unsustainable fashion. He's been doing it with the putter to this point. The ball striking on day one was what carried him, but today it was the around the green play and the putter. He can't seem to put it all together, and as a result, he's kind of had a middling start to his round. Today, he ended up shooting right around, I believe, 1 over par, so we would have ended up hitting the over today, and tomorrow we're getting even more difficult conditions. So I like Rickie Fowler. He's one of my favorite golfers in the world. Of course, like rooting for the guy, but when we're putting our money behind our takes, we got to do the smart thing, which is taking the over on Rickie Fowler, because in terms of pedigree, he's been worse than Hossler for quite some time now. Even if we take into account the last 3 to 4 months, Hossler's been a better player, and he's arguably one of the worst players on this board. So nothing against Rickie Fowler. I love the guy to the left. Love to support him there on tour, but we're going to be taking the over on his strokes. Now, lastly, the 2 unders I mentioned. Already talked a little bit about Taylor Gooch. He's a great wind player. Ended up shooting 4 under par today in the most difficult conditions. He's from Oklahoma State. I love the fact that he's used to these windy conditions to begin with. He's a higher quality player. And in fact, the guys that are all priced at this same number, it's just service. He's a much better player than these guys. So I would say that this line is extremely erogenous. It should be closer to maybe 70 or even 69.5. Sorry, not 70, 71 or 70.5, that type of thing. But at 71.5, it's an absolute no-brainer to take the under. So I like going there a whole lot. Same thing with Will Zalatoris there at 71.5. He had a really rough round today. Again, he made 9 bogeys on the day, but we're not used to seeing that from Will. Most of those were misses from inside 3 feet for birdie. The guy was just an absolute atrocious putter. One thing that Will Zalatoris does extremely well on tour is bounce back. He's been known to have a rough round from time to time, but come out there the next day and really make up for it. So we're buying in on that, and all he has to do is shoot under par. I mean, if I told you guys today that you could get Will Zalatoris at 71.5 for the over-under, every single one of you would have smashed the under. Now, of course, we have much more difficult conditions expected for tomorrow, so it's not quite as easy as a 1-to-1, but that should drive home the point there. All I've got for the round 3 Prize Picks targets. Before you go on and get out of here, make sure you let me know down in the comments what your favorite prop on the board is, whether it's something that I mentioned or completely off my radar. I'd love to hear from you guys, so make sure you go ahead and do so. And as always, going to have you guys covered for Sunday as well. We'll have a video coming out Saturday evening around 8:30, 9 p.m. Eastern time, so look forward to that with all of our Prize Picks props for Sunday. If you guys haven't already liked the video, make sure you guys go ahead and do so. Support the channel here. Also, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. We're going to have that content coming out tomorrow. Of course, for all of the golf tournaments going forward, I'll be at the Players Championship next week, so really looking forward to that. Going to be able to give you guys an idea of how the course is playing from the venue itself. So look forward to that. A lot of inside information to come. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of that. Good luck with all of your Prize Picks hunting for round 3, and let's get this cash.